And we live. We here.
We should have used that 30-second countdown video.
It's not. Oh, it is in this this one. Yeah, we should have for sure.
Yeah, instead of just being like, we're live, and everybody's like awkwardly like,
Hey,
hey guys. Hey, 6 people that watch this.
Hope you're ready to talk about video games and stuff.
Yeah, right. Now that all of our day jobs have returned, it's gotten a lot harder to find time to do this, and it's like, challenge accepted.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. We'll carve a moment.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's what we're doing today. We're doing all of our video game stuff on one day because we're playing NHL 20 tonight.
That's right.
Ready.
You gotta plug that.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited to play 6-on-6 so that we have a couple of computer teammates or good human teammates.
Right.
So that like when one of us does something stupid,
when we get straight
like
roasted at the offensive blue line, it's not a breakaway every time.
Exactly. We're not like, okay, well, which one of us is committing the stripping penalty?
Well, there will be plenty of that too, but
oh yeah. Oh. I can't stop. Can't stop, won't stop.
On that note, welcome in to the DNVR Gaming Podcast presented by WGT Golf. You can download it totally for free at dnvrgolf.com. Whole lot of fun. Over 20 million people in the world playing it, and that's not just the DNVR community, but it's mostly the DNVR community. We have had to create a third country club. You got to come join us. You can play closest to the hole or full stroke play on world famous golf courses, including Bethpage, Black, St. Andrews, and more. You can challenge any one of us if you'd like to, win. You can challenge Harrison Wynn or Patrick Lyons if you'd like to take on a bit of a challenge. Those guys have got it going on. Rudo, you've had some better showings, and we're learning now that maybe you're a golfer, and we just didn't know it.
Solid top 5 last weekend, baby.
Yeah.
That's like...
It's funny. I take credit for that because I talked all that shit to you on the Avs pod about how I was going to beat you. And then you had a top 5 showing, and I forgot to do it.
You saw that top 5 and was like, no.
It was like Sunday at 10 o'clock, and I was like, oh, WGT! And then I went to it, and it was like tournament closed, and I was like, all right.
Well, sad day.
I'm an idiot.
Well, if you want to make sure you don't miss them, we do have them on the weekends. You got to get there before late on Sunday. But tournaments, I think we're doing them every weekend now. Join the country club, as I said. A lot of fun.
For the record, do not know what this weekend's is at all. For whatever reason, I went from being a part of that conversation to now I just do what I'm told.
I prefer being on that side of the conversation, if I'm being honest with you. That's the part I enjoy. Hey, on today's episode of the Gaming Pod, we wanted to talk about with sports returning, as AJ was saying, our day jobs are coming back. We are recording this on the eve of the home opener for the Colorado Rockies. The Avalanche and Nuggets are getting ready to kick off again. Kick off. Why would I use a football term? I was doing so well, and I used football terminology when it's the only sport that's not going on. But we're all very excited for the return of sports. And
literally have a hockey game going on right now on my other monitor. So if you see me constantly looking that way, that's all it is. Don't worry.
It's just because there's hockey. And I've been doing the same with baseball, of course, and it's got me kind of nostalgic. We've been talking a lot about home openers from years past on, some of the sports pods and stuff, but it got me thinking, what is the video game version of opening day? And of course, it's the big release of that game that you have been anticipating for weeks, months. In the case of the last couple of Final Fantasy games, nearly a decade. Sometimes more, depending on how far you go back. And then that day comes. Sometimes it's the release of a new system. And so we wanted to talk about some of our just personal stories of times we've really been anticipating something coming out, and then get into the evolution, how it's changed over the years. It's not quite the same a big release these days as it used to be, especially since the majority of games are bought digitally now. But let's begin. Rudo, I'll start with you this time. Why don't, since you said we're gonna build toward the other stuff, but I want to throw it to you for a rough one here. Well, we'll see how it goes, but just a memorable time you were just excited for a video game thing to happen.
Yeah.
What's the big one that jumps out?
So the one immediately for me is the release of the Xbox 360. I don't have an insane story like some of the people who did back then who talked about like, pre-orders were not as big of a thing. So people like literally lined up outside stores and like fought each other for Xboxes, which was insane. I didn't have anything like that.
Not just Xboxes, dude.
Yeah.
Follow a story to this.
Oh man, this is gonna be a better pod than I realized already.
Black Friday getting into stuff here, like, but either way, I didn't have a story like that. But this was when I was relatively young, and I convinced my parents that we should get an Xbox 360 right away. And so I was like super hyped about it, and they were like, "All right, you're gonna get an Xbox 360, but we're not gonna buy you any games right away." And so we ended up getting it, which was awesome. We went to the midnight thing and got one, and we had it, and we got to play on it. But the only game, and this was like if you don't know, the Xbox 360 had like a digital store, but this was very, very early iterations of that. It's nothing like it is today. So you could buy some games, but not really. And it came with this one free game called Hexic. And if you've ever played it, you know exactly what it is. And if you've never played it, don't.
All right.
So
I won't.
I ended up like pumping like 30 or 40 hours into this very simple, basic. It's not something akin to like Candy Crush level of gameplay here. Not something particularly complex, and getting all these like Xbox 360 achievements on this game, which was fun in some ways, but extremely disappointing as well. Having like the initial hype of the Xbox 360 didn't live up to it. Obviously, I went on to love that console with all the Halo games and everything, but maybe my first lesson in saying, do you really need this at 12:01 on opening night of the game? I don't know.
Well, and console launches are such a different animal than game launches, because like game launches, you're after that game, right? Yep. A console, you're like, okay, well, what are the games that I get to play on it on day one as well? Because the only console that I ever stood in line for was the GameCube. And my friend David and I called all around Katy looking for a place that had GameCubes that they were selling. And we came across like the last Kmart on Earth. And they said that they would have they said that they would have 5 of them. And so we lined up. We got our my dad. He slept over at my house. My dad got up 6 a.m. and took us to Kmart. And we lined up for a 7 o'clock opening, thinking an hour would be fine, right? And we were fine. They actually had 7 of them, and we were numbers 4 and 5.
Nice.
And let me tell you, the people that showed up after 7 were heated.
I believe that.
And not just because it was Texas in the summer, but because they were upset that they were not getting a GameCube. And all I bought on the day that that it came out was NHL Hits. That was it. That was like all I bought for like 6 months of that.
Yeah, you're good. You picked a good game for that one.
Yeah. But it was like I hadn't thought about that console launch in years until you started talking about the 360. And that's the only time I've ever lined up for a console. Otherwise, with consoles, when I was younger, I was just a sports gamer, so I didn't need a console right away. And then as I got older, I got smarter and was like, day one consoles are not.
You're just asking for trouble. For sure. Yeah.
And I say that as somebody who behind me, I have an Xbox One day one.
Yeah.
Sitting there.
I didn't buy it, so it was like whatever. But it's just funny that I have it sitting there because I'm like,
nowadays
why would you get one?
You still buy it, but you're pressing the button. You're like, this is a mistake.
Right. I know I shouldn't be doing this, but I'm doing this.
I've never had enough money as an adult to knowingly do that. Like to just be like, this is stupid. Swipe. Yeah, never done that. Never been able to do that as an adult.
Actually, I never have either, except for maybe, and this is weird. I'm not. This I promise this wasn't a flex, but just because it's relevant, maybe now is the first time in my life I've reached that point, and I'm literally weighing this exact decision as we approach the new generation of consoles. I just had yesterday probably a 30 or 45 minute long conversation with my girlfriend about like, do we need a PlayStation 5? Day one, and a lot of it's because we got a PS4 so early on and it's about to crap out that we're like, well, we need a replacement, and it's the only thing. And now we're doing this dance, how much is it going to be, and we know there's going to be launch issues. So I'll see your Kmart and raise you a Circuit City. My one standing in line story comes for the PlayStation 2, and there was a unique strangeness. I remember being really excited when I was very young that we got the Super Nintendo, but I think that was more of a thing for my brother, so I'm not counting that for me. He can claim Super Nintendo as his opening day.
We got to get Ira to come on here.
Yeah,
we will. We will, for sure. That'll be fun. He has crap internet.
he keeps showing up on my Facebook because he knows people that I know separately.
Oh, yeah. Actually, yeah, you guys have a lot of very strange connections.
Yeah. So as we've learned over the last few months, yes.
But so very similar, almost the exact same story to yours, AJ, with the GameCube. I remember it would. So the PS2 launched right around the time of my birthday that year. I was in 8th grade, and I remember the big thing was like they were only releasing like a couple 100,000 that day, and then nothing else until Christmas time. So it's either get one at the end of October or Christmas Day, and that's basically the only time you could get it. So we drove around and we found a long line out of a Circuit City, and I was something like 6 out of 9 people that they had. And I think Dynasty Warriors was like the only, again, because launch titles are typically crap. And I just wanted to be the one kid in 8th grade at my middle school who had a PlayStation 2. And I was very proud of that. But there were other games on there that were, I think I got 1 or 2 early launch. There was like a fireworks, what was that fireworks game on the PS2? That, like, it was so stupid. It's kind of come back a little bit as like a cheapo $1.99 thing that you can buy. But it was like a...
I didn't own a PS2
I feel like you're just thinking of the PS2 startup screen with the like colors rotating around.
Maybe, but no. There was definitely a really cheap little fireworks game. PS1, by the way, had the best intro screen of all time of those types of things. Although GameCube was pretty dope, and GameCube is an underrated console.
Apparently, it was called Fantavision.
Fantavision, straight up. You got it. That's exactly what I'm talking about. I had that.
Did you just Google PS2 fireworks game?
That's exactly what I
Let's go, baby.
The way that Chad is talking about PS2 and PS1 intro sounds is how I feel about the GameCube. That's the only one that sticks with me.
I can't even do it. But
Well, and then the cube on and turning itself into the G, and then like
the middle.
Yeah, the whole design of it it's so cool. If we ever make a DNVR video that cool, I'll be happy.
Right, just that little intro, man. That was a golden era of gaming. All those systems. I even liked the Dreamcast. I had a Dreamcast for a little while.
I had a friend who had a Dreamcast, and boy, that system was so far ahead of its time.
Yeah, it really was. Which
you
is
look back on it, and
it's like the one that died. Like,
how did this fail? Look at all the features it had.
And its like controller was basically the original Xbox controller before the Xbox controller.
Except you could put the thing in the middle of it, and you could raise the little dudes out of them.
Yeah,
and it was I had a good time with this.
So, a couple of questions coming in here, just real quick before we get it, as we're switching topics here. Henry's saying the Xbox Gaming Showcase last week was a B+ for me. I watched a little bit of it. Did you guys check it out? What'd you think? I enjoy Halo thing. I'm a mark for Halo, so I enjoyed it. It was very Halo centric.
Straight up, totally. A great way to put it. I'm a mark for Halo too.
Absolutely.
So
so we all enjoyed ourselves.
Yeah, it's like, oh, cool. Halo Infinite. Excited for it. I want to see it. For me, I hate the battle royale thing that is going through all these games right now. So the idea that Halo Infinite is just like, meh, deathmatch.
Right.
I'm like, yeah, be who
Good.
you are.
Give me
Be
back
who
there.
you
Yeah.
are.
Also, Utes Avs fan. I think we all agree. We all miss the N64. I mean, you can still
Yeah.
play the N64 if
Project
you
Dolphin,
want.
baby.
Oh man,
Ryan,
Mario Party. I tell you,
those were the days.
you know, it's a lot easier to just go on Amazon and buy a joystick now. Getting replacement joysticks back then was significantly harder.
Brutal.
So you had to pick your spots with Mario Party. Once you broke one of them and you figured out not only that, but wear gloves.
So I
because
don't know.
Otherwise that will cut up your palms.
More than
up.
once, the big blister in the middle of your palm.
Yeah, straight up. Wear
that's
gloves.
The only way
Pro
to
tip, man.
you got to get equipment for Mario Party. That's how I'm saying it. Yeah.
And friends.
There's the video games cause violence debate, right? There's like video games don't cause violence, and then there's Mario Party.
Oh no! See,
that's a whole.
There are games. So there was a game on, I believe it was on the Wii called Dokapon Kingdom. That was the ultimate friendship tester.
Yeah,
that game was like Mario Party on all of the good drugs.
So I think somehow I got like a VHS cassette in the mail that was a promo tape for the N64 before it came out.
What?
I have no idea if this thing still exists, but I can remember the guy showing the controller and explaining, when you go this way and you tilt it just slightly, Mario will begin to walk. If you go a little bit further, he'll start to run. And my brain exploding as the guy explained that. So I don't think I got the N64 launch because I don't think we had the money for it. But I remember being super hyped for that ahead of time for sure.
Yeah, I went to a friend's house and they were playing Mario 64. And I was just watching it and I was like, what the F is this? and then eventually, of course, when I got for Christmas and I got oh my gosh, I got a racing game and then I got Wave
Rally or something.
That's it.
Amazing.
That was it. Thank you. I got Wave Race and I got Mario 64.
Yeah.
And it was like, ooh,
great games.
What a haul. Like, dude, looking back on it, like, what a haul.
Yeah.
And Mario 64 became my favorite game of all time. So, and to this day, it's still number one.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mass Effect 2.
Apologies.
Which was one of my great release day stories, too.
I was going to say, why don't you just get us into that then? Let's do individual games.
That was an actual good one, because they're good and bad, right? The Mass Effect 2, I didn't stand in line or anything because I was working night audit in a hotel, so I had to work. I had to be at work at 10 p.m., so I could not be standing in line at midnight somewhere else, although I definitely tried. I 100% tried to bribe my coworker to be like, look, you can go home, just come back for 20 minutes while I go to Best Buy and pick it up. And it was a no-go. So I had to get an Amazon release day shipping when they were still doing that. And it was still like a thing that cost money and it was whatever, right? And so I got off work and I drank so much Mountain Dew to stay up because I didn't know when release day shipping was. It didn't tell you what time of day. So
gonna get here, yeah.
I was like, it's gonna get here at 10 o'clock in the morning and I will have slept all day and I'm not gonna, because I had taken the rest of the week off after that day. Just so I could play basketball.
Right.
Come on.
Right.
And so I ended up staying up and I finally crashed at like 11. And then the person that I was living with at the time knocked on my door and was like, it was like 11:30. And they were like, hey, you have a package. And I sprang up out of bed and was like, as like mobile as I've ever been in my entire life. Like I was
arose with such a cloud.
Oh my gosh. It was like I looked like Mario jumping around in my room. Like I just boom and opened up the door and was like, oh my God. And then I opened it because of course I got like special edition and all the stuff, right? And so I'm like opening it and I'm like, starting to get emotional because I'm like, oh my God, here we go. And then it was like, oh, I get to put these 3 discs in and install this for the next 45 minutes.
Well, I guess, yeah.
Cool. Like,
cool.
It's whatever. Like, I'm cool. I'm up.
It's amazing how that has changed our opening day release experience, right? Like here we go. Oh,
these 45 minutes I will spend going to the gas station and getting more Mountain Dew because I drank it all.
Has it changed our experience, really? Because these days, instead, it's a 50 gigabyte day one patch.
Right, like
if it's
when we were trying to play NHL, like I get my PlayStation, I set it up, I put the game in, and I load it up. Right, I haven't gotten the game. I got to great. I got to download the game. Great, I have downloaded the game. Now I have to install the game.
Yeah.
Okay, great. The game has been out for a year. I have updates. Great. Okay, so now I have updates. I get into the game. Now I have to log in with an email address that they have to attach to EA. Okay, great. I do all this stuff. I have a previous one. Can I get my password? Oh, I've got all this other nonsense, right?
Now create your profile and your character.
And now you got to create your character. And now you got to do it. And it's just like,
oh my God, dude.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God, dude. I did not expect that this, like, I love Animal Crossing. All that game is virtual errands. This is worse. It was like a checklist.
Yep.
And that's all it is. You're just sitting there. You're just inputting information. And I'm like, dude, God, I understand you're going to steal my data. Eventually, someday, this is going to leak to something. Somebody's going to have to get my credit card. I'm going to have to cancel it. Like, I have accepted that I am screwed in this situation. I get it. Can we hurry this process up?
Burnout 3 is the best racing game ever made, by the way.
You know, my Need for Speed Underground was when racing games peaked for me personally.
Underground 2 was very, very, very good.
Extreme G.
That was the one. That was
Extreme G. Now you're throwing it back a little bit. Yeah.
Extreme G is underrated.
Road
Big Mario
Rash.
Kart fan, but those are and Gran Turismo should always be a shout out. It's good. I like Gran
There's a big difference between racing games and kart racers.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Because Diddy Kong Racing is great. Mario Kart 8 is a masterpiece. It's so polished and perfect. But
Twisted Metal.
There's even Twisted Metal. Twisted Metal.
Twisted Metal.
Twisted Metal was like a race to your life, not an actual race. That was car combat.
Pete, I see your question here. We did a full review of Animal Crossing New Horizons a few podcasts ago, so I highly recommend you subscribe or you go on there to the website and you find that one because we went whole hard into that one for you. So getting us back on topic here with the
actual
releases,
games.
Releases of games. Rudo, what is your Mass Effect? Was that Mass Effect 3 you said, AJ, for that one, or just that was for 2? I love 2 so much. I have such a soft spot for those middle, in between stories that don't finish and leave you feeling just half empty. And
it's not uncommon.
Metal Gear Solid 2 is another one of my Halo 2. I love them so much.
The first one sets it up, right? Like the first one is the bad game of the series, but it's good enough to make you love it and get excited for 2. 2, they take all the shit that they did poorly in the first one and master it, and then 3 finishes the story and it either ruins it or extends it out, and it's just like, okay, now this is part of a much larger franchise, as was the case with Halo, and it's just like, okay, but 2 is always the purest of them.
I'm going to go with the number 2 as well. I hate to be a Debbie Downer here,
because it's the shit,
and also go back to the well, but I'm about to do both to you with the first World of Warcraft expansion, the Burning Crusade.
Cool.
Got it on release day. Kind of like AJ. I went to an actual store, but I didn't go at midnight. But it was on release day. Same type of deal. 5 discs to install this expansion to a game that was already completely on my hard drive. So I had to add all of that, get it all loaded up, and be aware the servers for this game had been up for like 6, 7, 8 hours at this point. Game was unplayable. You could not actually play the game. Every single person was running in place. You'd try and attack something and it just wouldn't attack. Or if it did attack, nothing would happen and you'd stand there for 2 minutes and then you'd suddenly be dead.
That sounds like a whole lot of fun to play.
So, and it was probably like this for at least the first 24 hours, maybe the first 48 hours before they got a patch out that was like stable enough to make the game playable. And while it was an awful experience and I had much regret at the time, I feel like it has well prepared me for life today, where if I download a game, I just don't even expect it to work if it's new.
There is something to be said for high profile video game failures where you were so excited and all that happened is your soul just got crushed like a little can.
Yep.
Like there's something to be said for it because when you live through them, man, they just change you in a way.
It teaches you some hard life lessons.
Straight up. Like it doesn't totally prepare you for the first time a girl breaks your heart, but it feels a lot like it, like the night she smashes your heart into a billion pieces. It feels a lot like
You're
when
like,
that game
I've
lets you down.
been here before.
Yeah, you're like, you know what? I can draw on this pain. I understand this feeling. Okay.
You know, it's funny as you guys were saying. I was trying to think because most of mine have worked out, and that's just mostly been luck. But I was trying to think, what's the biggest horror story, the most excited I've ever been for one, and it brings a conversation we were having earlier full circle. It was the Sega game for the Dreamcast, and that's the reason that system didn't succeed because it had a lot of great games, but that Sonic game, that release, that first Sonic Sega Dreamcast game for the like Sega coming into or Sonic coming into the world of 3D, and it was like this.
Well, and like, wasn't that the game where you played a bunch of different characters? Like, you played some like random ass robot, and you're like running around, and it's like,
yeah.
So this is sort of like a Sonic game in name only.
You
like,
do a lot of walking around and talking to people. It's like I wanted to run fast. There was one requirement to this game.
That was and for a whole different conversation. That was just a game that never translated to 3D because the whole point of it was speed.
Running in a straight line.
Right. And like while speed was something that was part of Mario, the real part of Mario was just the platforming.
Yeah.
And the thing that made Sonic different was its speed. And then when you got into 3D, it turns out platforming translated and speed was a great way to die. And you were just like, wow, this is really frustrating.
Yep. That was a big bummer. Obviously, the big one for me, no surprise to anybody, was Final Fantasy VII. That was the one we were just most excited about to go and
Another
get.
Multi-disc game.
Yep. A multi-disc game. We actually, this was something where my brother was in high school and I was in middle school. And he was like such a good student and just generally good person and all of that crap. It's annoying, but like,
for him.
Yeah. He like ran out at lunch. I know, right? And like, I think he may have missed a class, or at least ran out at lunch, or something like that at school.
A class,
and he may have missed a class to go out during the day and buy a PlayStation so that we could also the release day of Final Fantasy VII pick that up, brought it home. We actually snuck it into the house because we didn't want our parents to know that he had gone out and bought video games in the middle of a school day. And that we had spent like however much money on just to play this one game that we had basically that we had basically just spent $450-$500 to play one game and plugged it in and we were downstairs and we had like a basement set up in our room in the house and just played all night. Got so far through that game in the first and it was the first time we were talking about the intro sounds before. And I can just remember being there and the PlayStation sound came up and the logo and that noise and it filled the room and you felt like you had entered the future of gaming. And then just one screen, the Final Fantasy VII logo with the sword, new game, click, and it started. Like, imagine that. Imagine a gaming existence.
It just works.
And it was just exactly the game that it was. And then, it like for many people out there, it changed our lives. It changed the way we thought about video games. It changed the way we thought about the art that we engaged with. It was as satisfying as any experience where I've been incredibly hyped for something because I'd already played Final Fantasy VI and Chrono Trigger and 4. So I was into the idea. This was a thing I wanted. and then that it delivered so totally and ended up becoming a staple of the industry, and it blew us away. So that's obviously my big like opening day release. Like, that was so much fun.
It is a little bit like sports, right? You still show up for the opening day game. You still show up. 95% of the time it's gonna be disappointment, but you're fishing for that one time that it isn't.
Right.
I mean, isn't that just gaming as a whole? Like,
yeah,
you buy 20 games a year, and if you get like 2
that are really good
ones, you're satisfied. Yeah. And the other 18, you just hope you didn't waste time on. You're like, hey, I play a lot of games where it's just like, I enjoyed that.
Fun. Yeah.
That was worth my time, and I moved on. And it's like, of course, I've had 2 games in the last year that I have over 300 hours played on and just dominated my life between Fire Emblem and Animal Crossing. But it's like, I mean, that's just Nintendo. When Nintendo decides that they're going to drop the hammer on you,
you come running.
You just all right. You just let that happen. Honestly, it's Starfields.
I think so.
Yeah, but that's like disappointing games. Blizzard is the master at that. Because your disappointing game release story is Burning Crusade. Mine, I took vacation time. I took 10 days off, flew across the country to Tennessee, where my best friend was living at the time, and went to a store at midnight, stood in line for Diablo 3. And it was awesome. And there was some other game that was also coming out that night. I don't remember what it was. It was garbage. I think it was a Max Payne game. I
like
think
the third Max Payne or fourth Max Payne or something.
I think it was the last Max Payne game made, but I'm not 100% sure on that. That's just what I have stuck in my head. But anyway, it was a game that ultimately it did not matter. And D3 came out, and we got home, and I had brought my computer with me, and he had his computer, and we had set up all these computers because he had his brothers and everything. We were all going to play Diablo together. And we had set up all these computers in his big ass room in his house, and we install it, go to do it, servers are down.
Yep.
Yeah.
And there was some error code that was plaguing everybody trying to play that game. We were able to get in one time in our first 3 hours of just
Jesus.
All we did was try this thing and read the forums to see what the hell was going on, right? And we got in one time. We got to look at the character creator, and we were going through all this. Of course, we were all diehard Diablo people we had devoured every piece of information in the run-up to this release. We already knew what characters we were making first.
Yeah.
We already knew. We knew what gender they were. We knew which character class we wanted. We knew what their names were going to be. These were going to be our mains. This was it. We were totally prepared. So it was only a minor victory that we got to click around in the game for a minute. And then we went to create character. The opening cinematic worked, and it was like, oh my God, this is it. And then it crashed for all of us. And we did not get back in until almost 30 hours after the game had actually officially dropped. It was insanity. And then it was just like, oh, they fixed it. And then we spent days beating that game, and how slow it was and how shitty it was. Release Diablo 3 was so bad. It was so bad. You play Diablo 3 today, and it is awesome. It's so good, and it's so fun, and it's so rewarding, and it's such a challenge, and I love it. It's so much fun. It's exactly what an ARPG should feel like, but boy, did it take time to get there.
No.
It didn't, nothing about it. Even when we got to play, nothing about it felt good.
And that's just kind of a reality of games these days, right? Almost every game is significantly better at the end of its life cycle, and in some cases, not even recognizable to the game.
Go look at No Man's Sky right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
People love it. I've never played it, but people love that game now. And after one of the great disappointing releases,
Yep.
Now it's super fun. People are really into it.
Yeah. Which, I mean, honestly, that's like kind of the surprise case, right? The old Nintendo saying is a game that's bad on release is bad forever, but a delayed game is eventually good. No Man's Sky is the exception to the rule a little bit.
When you're a company that doesn't support your games online, that makes perfect sense for you to feel that way.
Yeah.
But even now, and look at the support they've given Smash Brothers Ultimate, and even New Horizons is on like its third big content patch since it came out.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there are pluses and minuses to that too. A lot of people are unhappy about the release of 15, and they had to patch a bunch of stuff. And I never thought it was that bad, but
it is frustrating.
It's a different game though. It's like you were saying, like you go and play, like I think it's called the Royal Edition, right? And they all do this too, where it's like a year and a half or 2 years after the game was released. Now you buy the complete version of the game for $30. When the full game was $50 when it first came out, or whatever it is,
Right.
And now it functions way better, and it's kind of like, ugh, on man.
I mean, I have Dragon Quest XI, the definitive edition.
Right.
What were the first three?
Yeah, right. But at the same time, I agree with what AJ's saying. Like, it's better than if a game is released and it has issues. There's nothing you can do about it.
Well. I mean, the modern thing to do is, if you're releasing a game with issues, say, this is not the official release. We're releasing this in beta. Help us test it and fix it.
Right.
Yeah, the whole early access thing that Steam started giving companies excuses. And I thought it was a really cool idea because it was like, oh, the fans can be a part of the development process. They can tell the developers, hey, we want you guys to head in this direction with the game that already exists. Here's how you can make it better. Here's how you can cater it to us. And all it did was encourage a bunch of developers to release 50% games where people buy them and they're like, wow, this is shitty. And they never play them again. Yeah. And the whole purpose just gets lost along the way.
The concept's great. The execution.
Right. You need a dedicated group of people who understand that they are beta testers.
Yep.
And they're not fly by, hey, I'm buying this because it's on sale for $4, people. You need people, and that's just the QA process.
Yeah.
That's all this is.
You're outsourcing your QA to your fan base, basically.
Yeah, exactly. You're asking them to pay you money to be part of the QA process. And it's like, look, if you're a dedicated person and you want to be a part of that process, all good, dude. Have at it. Go ham. Sure. But if that's not the case, dude,
pump the brakes.
Yeah. Release the game when it's done, please. Stop, and because like the ability to update meant that developers were cutting corners to try and make
deadlines.
To make release deadlines, and because pushing something back, there's marketing involved. You have tons of money that's getting spent on a game getting released at a certain time, and then it gets delayed and whatever, But that's the frustrating part of how things are today, is because back then there's a reason Nintendo's process is flawless. There's a reason they make brilliant games. And it's because they took the time to. They went through a QA process. They tear down bad parts of their game and they remake them. And that's why you see so many of their own games, even if it's, oh god, another Mario. Yeah, it's not getting a 9.5 because it says Mario. It's getting a 9.5 because they're the best in the business. And part of that is their QA. It's the polish, it's the care, it's the love they put into a game. You look at like the Naughty Dog process and how they've come under so much fire because they're a bunch of maniacs that work 14 hours a day. Like, I read about them and the story, it's so weird because the story is like, oh, look at how they abuse their workers. And all I'm reading about that story is I'm like, oh, look at how Naughty Dog and DNVR have so much in common. Where it's driven by a bunch of psychotic, passionate people that want to do this all day long. This is what they think about. This is what they care about. That's all they want to do. And when you don't have a company that acts like that, and you have EA, and they're in charge of it, and they're saying, oh, your game's not done.
It's all about the dollar to them, yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
I
and
was gonna
that's
say,
that's the
there are some
Activision
real
in
problems
Blizzard.
in the video game industry of people overworking, and I don't
Oh,
know the naughty.
100%,
And I
dude.
know you know that. Yeah, yeah. I know you know the real issues out there of it. Like, and that causes problems too. Again, the deadlines and the we got to
Yeah,
make that, and we can't delay. And it's like, bro, just make a good game. Take the time. Let your people eat and have a coffee break, and make a quality game, and we're
100%.
good with that. And we're good, right? Like,
I don't want anybody to think that
right? No, no,
we're
no.
like abused laborers at DNVR.
I wanted to
We
make
get
sure that people knew that what you
we
meant.
we all take vacations and we all
That's
get
right.
breaks, and none of us has ever been told no.
Right.
It's
And
just that
tonight
our
we're gonna get paid to play
natural
video games. So
our natural engine is go work.
totally.
Like-
And you see that quality hopefully in the
AJ had
parts.
to tell me to take time off, and I was like, okay, but can I take less time off though?
I straight up, this is an actual conversation that happened. I said, "Do you want 10 days off?"
Yeah.
Imagine your boss coming to you tomorrow and saying, "Would you like 10 days off?" No strings attached, still going to get paid, not like no problems, right? And he was like, "That's way too many."
It's like give me 3 or 4 and then I've been working on some stuff I got to finish. Like,
Yeah, well, and so he
yeah,
took his
like, I
time
don't-
off, and then I was going to go on vacation immediately after, but then Abs training camp started, and so I was like, "Yep, there that went."
Oh, that's
Not-
different.
I'm not going to not be in the middle of all this. Sorry.
So all of this said
Anyway.
about the trappings and the difficulties of it all.
Make good games, punks.
Still ain't none of the three of us over it at this point getting hyped for the next big video game thing. Ain't none of us over it as much as we've been hurt before in the past, as much as we know what the video game industry does and is doing lately and the way things have changed. And so, fellas, what's the thing? What is the most hype future? Is it a game, a system, an age of gaming you think is in front of us? What is the most hype future moment in these next couple of years for you in gaming?
Oh, I was not in the next couple of years, but eventually Full Dive VR is gonna blow the world's mind. But
I'm so
that
with
might
you.
not even be in my lifetime. Like,
I think we've talked about this a little bit before on the podcast. I think I'm very excited for the advancements in VR, and I know there's a long way to go, but there are some experiences right now, and that Resident Evil shit is twisted. There's some good VR experiences right now, great ones maybe around the corner. Like you said, Full Dive. That's going to take some time, but I'm with you. I'm very excited about that.
I mean, 2020, as much of a fiasco as it is in the real world, in the video game world, it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
It's already been amazing. I mean,
I gotta play Ghost of Tsushima. I have to play
like
that game. It
Final
looks
Fantasy
fantastic.
VII and Animal Crossing coming out at the same time is like,
Right.
like that alone would have been a great year.
Incredible.
But Marvel's Avengers is coming out on September 4th, and it
Mhm.
actually looks good. It looks fun. I'm very excited for it. It's 5 years late, but
Still, yeah.
hey, if you make a good game, I'm not going to get upset about the timing of it.
Yeah.
I also so many, nothing official, but a Mass Effect trilogy remaster is, if it's not coming this year, it's 100% in the works. There are too many details about it for it to just not exist that have been leaked already by people.
Yeah.
So that's obviously going to be amazing for me, where I will end my life and sink into that. I will most definitely, I promise you, if I have the internet to do it, because I don't know what my living situation will look like, as that is now in flux, I will stream that when that comes out. All of them.
yeah, buddy.
I will. That will be like 24-hour streams, just me sitting there
Of straight
scanning
amazing
planets for
planet.
minerals, looking like I haven't slept in 3 days.
Yeah.
And Diablo 4, obviously.
Sure.
Shadowlands Q4 this year as well.
I mean, I'm there.
Yeah. What are the other big ones? Yeah, I mean, all of that stuff.
Diablo 2 remaster.
Yeah.
When are the Tony Hawk remasters coming out?
Question.
Oh, that is a good question.
I was so mad when they were released because I was already enjoying my gaming experiences. But
Too much stuff to do.
it was, dude.
Since September 4th here, so there we go. Got
Same day as
answers for you in the
Avengers.
comments.
Dope.
It's gonna be a good finish to. Oh, and Cyberpunk may still come out this year. That looks amazing. But again, if you have to delay it to make it, AJ's not as into it. That's fine. I'm into it. But it's been delayed a couple of times, and like we were saying earlier, don't force it. Delay it a little for
dude.
Finish on the concept and the scope of it. Make it look like what it looks like or make it be what it looks like it is.
I look at delays as a positive thing now because they tried to delay Mass Effect Andromeda and BioWare went, nah. EA of all publishers said, do you need 6 more months? And they were like, no, we're good. And it came out with those broken facial animations, which they fixed 2 weeks later. And if you know there's no way that they got that done in 2 weeks. They knew it was a problem and they were already working on fixing it.
Yeah.
And it was just like, why did you take the 6 months? So if a game's going to get delayed, I'm like, look, that just means the developer cares. The publisher is okay with the fact that it's getting pushed back and that, hey, they're going to have to spend that marketing money later. Whatever.
The game is only a good thing for a game. Worse by being delayed.
Well, you say that and then Duke Nukem 0 happens.
I was gonna say Duke Nukem Forever or whatever. Yeah,
that was it. Yeah,
That game essentially got canceled and completely.
It's fair. That game was it was like canceled and then picked up like 5 years down the road, and it was just like, let's just finish this and release it. And Duke Nukem fans are suckers. We'll get their money. They got my money. Well played.
Just straight up, bring back Turok. All right. Anyway.
Rock.
Yes.
Okay. that wasn't the reaction. All right, let's go.
Dude, bring back Turok. Dude, I love dinosaurs.
Nothing
Come on.
makes me madder than getting my brain bored out by that mind borer gun, dude.
Wow. Can we get Eric to put that on a shirt? All right. I think that's going to have to. I don't think we're going to do any better than that. I think that's peak of the show, and we just got to get out of here now. That's the end of it. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out and talking with us today. Oh, yeah. Last of Us 2 was delayed multiple times, and it's like a 94 on Metacritic right now. It's been a great year for gaming. It looks like it'll continue to be. So hang out with us. Keep joining us for these. Typically on Thursdays, like you said, we're trying to make sure we can get them in. We'll figure it out as all of our seasons return, but make sure you're following DNVR Gaming on Twitter, that you're giving the podcast a subscribe, that you follow the Twitch channel. We're going to be playing some Chell tonight. That's right. If you're wondering,
Bruno, get out of here. You got to get on the road.
That's right.
First, probably closer to 6:30 than 6.
Okay.
So looking at that for we're going to be playing. The three of us, and hopefully several of you out there will be joining us for some video game hockey, where we all get to play our own individual characters, work as a team, maybe, and try to win ourselves some digital hockey. And
look, always, we will definitely work as a team.
Oh yeah.
How well that works?
Will it be a good team? We'll see.
The quality of that work is to be determined, but we will work as a team.
That's right. So again, as always, make sure that you've got WGT Golf downloaded from DNVR Golf, DNVRGolf.com, totally for free on your phone and computer. We really appreciate everyone hanging out with us for today. Thank you all, and we will see you next time.